All right, everybody. It's Jelton. It's Will. It's the 2024 Vikings from out of nowhere with a steel chair pummeling anyone that dares challenge them to a 60-minute game of football. I am so shocked, so happy, so enthusiastic. So we're going to dive right in to Feels Good, Feels Bad. My favorite thing, blatant ripoff of where Colin was right, where Colin was wrong, by the way, but I don't care. We're doing it. So feels good. I picked the Vikings to win 10 games, make the playoffs, win a playoff game. That looks like a pretty damn good prediction right now, Will. That looks like I might have went too low with the 10 wins prediction. A lot of season, I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but feels pretty good about that one. Feels bad. Vegas continues to look like not a good team at all. And also feels bad. I missed that San Fran. We didn't get to do this last week because you weren't able to do the show. I was off pretty badly with the San Fran game that I predicted to be I think a 10-point loss. They ended up winning by 6. And this week, I can't even remember what I picked, but I know I didn't pick a 27-point blowout for the Vikings. I picked us to lose. So feels bad that I got 1 week of gloating about the little game that we play here with how many points off we are from the actual result of the football game, and it looks like you stormed back pretty quickly. So I'll kick it off to you. I've talked for too long already to start this show. Glad to have you back. Glad to see the Vikings win. What feels good, what feels bad, Will?
It is good to be back. We had a little family vacation, first one of our small family's existence. Took the kids to a water park. It was a blast. I'm going to start with what feels bad because I kind of feel like there's a lot of that for me right now. My Jaguars, as we speak, are down 20-3 to the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football. They're going to be 0-3, and I thought they were making the playoffs. Doesn't happen very often when you start 0-3. So, not great. This is maybe a little too soon, but in the same vein, Cowboys and Bears, 2 teams I picked to make the playoffs, look horrible. I'll leave it at that. You don't look good. Maybe on a more positive note of a feels bad, in my dumb-mindedness, in my off week last week, probably because I wasn't fully in game go mode, because I didn't do the show with you, I had the defense or game balls. And I was dumb enough not to pick a former Texan to get a game ball. The Vikings' entire defense is made up of former Texans. Jonathan Grenard had 3 sacks and 4 tackles, and he was all over the place and basically wrecked the game. I picked Stephon Gilmore. Nobody throws at Stephon Gilmore. He's not going to get any picks or anything. He's just too good. So that was a really bad game. I mean, he was great, just like everybody else that played defense for the Vikings.
We just got done yesterday, when this releases, by the way. We just got done recording the grades from the couch for this week, and Stephon Gilmore was one of the players that got graded, and I believe he got an A+ from my brother, and I agreed with him because he shut Nico Collins down.
Did your brother give Aaron Jones his due finally?
No, we didn't do Aaron Jones this week.
Awfully unkind.
I agree.
95 or whatever he had and a touchdown. That was. We can debate for a long time about his grading scale, but I did not appreciate the B+ or whatever the heck.
The problem with the way the Vikings are playing football right now, and I said this on the show, yesterday. It's kind of difficult to give anybody bad grades because the team is rolling right now. Well-oiled machine. Are the Minnesota Vikings. So it's kind of difficult. So we kind of have to be like, Stephon Gilmore gave up 1 catch to Nico Collins all game for 5 yards. Sounds like a B- to me. We're holding them to this Hall of Fame, Legion of Boom standard, and he's a 36-year-old man.
If you wanted to give a bad grade from yesterday, you should have done something just like Garrett Bradbury for having 2 false starts at center or something like that. But anyways, I digress. My final feels bad for this week. I hate to say it. I still believe in my Twins, but it feels bad, folks.
Yeah.
They've been on a tailspin for about 5 weeks. They've been 11-22 since August 18th.
Oh man.
As we speak today, they are currently 1 game back of the final wild card position. It's been rough. It has been a rough go for those Minnesota Twins. But this is not a baseball show. Feels good. I just have to, because I was all high and mighty on my Vikings beating the 49ers pick. And I know this is 2 weeks ago, but I missed the show last week, so I just have to gloat a little bit. I picked the final score of that game to be, what did I say, Jordan? 24-22. I was real close. It was 23-17. And I also got to say, what was a big thing that I said was going to be a difference maker in that game? Do you remember?
The specialty. And I kind of whipped you for that.
And you danced all over me on the internet. And
I was like, oh, yeah, the big difference is going to be the special teams. And then CJ Ham goes out there and blocks a punt. And I look like a jack, you know what? Like, oh, yeah, look, applause for Will.
It was a special feeling, I must say, seeing CJ Ham block that kick. And I also believe the kickoff kick coverage was fantastic. They pinned Debo inside the 20 one time. It was a day for the special teams, and I feel really proud of that.
No,
so that's really the only thing I can dance on right now, because I thought the Vikings were going to lose to the Texans. I thought somebody would finally figure out Brian Flores. Yeah, that hasn't happened. So maybe we can talk about that game, Jordan.
Yeah, I'll throw in another feels bad really quick. I'll do a good bad. Feels bad. I also thought, like I was talking last week on Grades from the, I don't know if it was Grades from the Couch or if it was on the main show with Josh, but I was talking about how like CJ Stroud might be considered the best quarterback in the NFL, like going into next season. Still not out of the question. I kind of still want it to happen because that just makes what happened, on Sunday look that much better. But feels bad because that feels like a little bit of a day to take. Feels good. I got Bubba Wallace's autograph on a can of Zin at Bristol this past weekend, so that's something that's on my desk forever now. I don't even follow NASCAR that much, but I saw Bubba Wallace walking into the stadium. I said, "Bubba, will you sign this?" And he said, "Is it a can of Zin?" And I said, "Don't worry about it." And he said, "Yeah, I'll sign it." He slapped his autograph on the back of it. So feels good to be coming off. Look, we're both coming off vacations, big Vikings wins. We feel we're riding super high. So this is the structure of the show, okay? And for the podcast listeners, it's going to be a little bit different. For the YouTube audience, this is how it's going to go. We're going to be very excitable for this first show. The next show that will go out on Thursday, it's going to be, we're going to straighten up, okay? I'm going to put the chain back in the shirt. I'm going to put the glasses back on, and we're going to break down the Packers game like gentlemen, and we're going to try and put it's a new week, and that's the hardest thing for a coach to do. So I'm going to wear my stupid glasses, though. Will, I'm going to kick it back to you, though. Let's start talking about this Houston game, and I want to start on the defensive side of the ball. You pointed it out. You had the defense. You made the mistake of going with Stephon Gilmore instead of going with, Jonathan Grenard, who was kind of the low-hanging fruit. What did you think of Grenard's performance? And also, how dumb are the Texans for saying, yeah, we'll send out our mid-round pick tight end to try and one-on-one block Jonathan Grenard? What the hell was that? I truly don't know what they were thinking. But what did you think of Grenard's performance in this game?
He was unblockable.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that something O'Connell's talked about a lot, honestly, this short early season, young season, is that when he watches the film of these games, Jonathan Grenard continues to be the guy that, the words he likes to use is he shows up on the tape. And, it matches the untrained eye test of me, watching these games. It just looks like he is, especially on Sunday, on a mission to completely wreck the quarterback's life. And it was it was unique too because obviously him and CJ Stroud played together last year, and they described the relationship somewhat of as a younger brother, big brother situation. And oh, he big brothered him yesterday.
Yeah.
It was not even competitive, and obviously a lot of the credit has to go to Flores and just what this team has been able to do. But you could tell that it was Grenard, it was Harrison Phillips, Pat Jones. These guys made life so uncomfortable for the Houston offensive line. And then, as a byproduct, Stroud all day. Laramie Tunzel looked like he didn't want to be there. I don't know what it is about him and his all proness, but the amount of penalties that guy gets and the amount of penalties he had yesterday was almost alarming. The Houston team looked like they felt intimidated by the noise, by the defense, by the aggression. And once that score got to about 14-0, 21-0, it just felt like they allowed everything to snowball. And it looked like Houston didn't want to be there anymore.
Yeah.
And I give so much of that credit to the defense because the offense was good. The offense was efficient. But the offense wasn't stupendous for a 34-point game. There were some areas they could clean up. There was some crispness that they could improve on. But I give so much of the credit for that level of intimidation to the defense and to Grenard, maybe specifically.
Yeah. I've been cooking on, sitting on this take. It specifically after the Sandpoint game, it kind of got hammered home for me after this Houston game and the way that it all played out. And because the narrative around this Vikings team in 2024 is slowly becoming which one of the championship game teams are they most like? Are they 98? Are they 09? Or are they 17? And everyone's like debating, like, well, the defense is so good, so it has to be 17, but the offense has so many weapons, so it's more like 98. But, oh, we have this random gunslinger quarterback whose career we're reviving. Obviously, Brett Favre and Sam Darnold had different careers before coming to Minnesota, but, so it's 09. Like, there's so many different, like, conversations going on and debates going on about which one it is. I have a hot take about which team this team reminds me of, and it's kind of different. Hear me out. Also, just so you guys know, I did put the championship blings on. I'm full bling at this point, okay? Like we got to go all dripped out for this. But I think this team is the exact opposite of Kevin O'Connell's first Vikings team in 2022. Because if you look back at that season, the offense was just loaded with talent, especially after the Hawkinson trade. It was Jefferson, it was Thielen, it was Osborne, it was Dalvin Cook, who was still popping runs like it was crazy. Then we got Hawkinson in here. So there were like 5 weapons, and Cousins was just slinging and making comebacks and putting chains on. So it was just a really fun and exciting offense. But then we had the defense that would regularly give up huge sums of yards, lots of points, but then, and a lot of shows said this, we were one of them, we would say this is an opportunistic defense. Well, we would score a touchdown to go up by, 4 or 5 points with like a minute to go, and then Pat Peterson would get a pick in the end zone to put the game away or whatever. And we would they'd just make the play when they needed to make the play, but you couldn't count on them at all before that. And so it kind of is flipped now, where it's like, hey, look at the defense. It's loaded with talent. There's Ginkle, there's Grenard, there's Dallas Turner, there's Ivan Pace, there's Blake Cashman. The secondary kind of looks insane for a bunch of old men. Like, there's all these styles on that side of the ball, and they're dominating games. Then you look at the offense, and it's like, yeah, it's Sam Darnold, Sammy Hammy, as I call him. It's Aaron Jones, who's 29 and has injury problems. It's Justin Jefferson, and everybody else is on the flipping, they're in the tub because they're all banged up. So like the offense is kind of the one where it's like, we just need you to be opportunistic. And that's what they did against Houston, where it was like the defense gets a pick. Okay, we have great field position. Let's go convert that to a touchdown. Houston misses a field goal. Okay, we have great field position. Let's go convert that to a touchdown. Like, it felt like anytime Houston slipped up even a tad bit, the offense was there to be like, okay, bet, yeah, we have great, we have to get it done. We'll get it done right now. And so it just feels kind of flipped. And I think that is a winning style of football. I also want to get your opinion on this part of it. This team feels like maybe the most physical Vikings team I've ever watched in my life that I can truly remember. It seems like they are this year's San Francisco, where like teams don't want to play them because the day after and the week after, you're going to feel it. Like San Francisco, they played us and they just lost after that. So teams that play us are, the Giants. No, the Giants lost. Teams that play us are 0-2 after playing us. So, like, that was the big San Francisco stat. So what do you think? Am I wrong in that? Is this a very physical football team? Does it look like we're just punching people in the mouth?
You're not wrong. And I think it's probably aided by the fact, or at least maybe our opinions of this are aided by the fact that the coaches and especially the players talk about this all the time, right? O'Connell's new thing is play style. He uses that almost as much as Kwesi used to say competitive rebuild. And so it's on our minds all the time, but you're right in saying that this is the most physical Vikings team that we've seen in a long time. I mean, I'm thinking back to as long as I've been a real Vikings fan, that 17 defense was ferocious and the 15 defense was physical. But it always felt like when the Vikings got into a moment where, they could crumble or they could slip up, they would.
Yeah.
Toughness is not just hitting somebody hard. Toughness is also making the right mental decision, and making the smart play, making the selfless play. And I think that this team exhibits that in a very clear manner, and the only person that really is making plays that I'm cringing occasionally is the quarterback, which we can talk about later. But it's been just really a really sound team in that regard, and also just like you said, hit people in the mouth. And I just feel like every time I'd watch the Vikings, it's like, man, Adrian Peterson is the only guy that's hitting anybody. Everybody else is kind of backing off or waiting for themselves to get trucked. And it just always felt like, oh, when the Vikings, get those pretty white pants dirty on the road, they're going to lose. And I don't know. This team, and granted, they haven't played a tough opponent on the road yet, which we will see this week and we'll talk about in our next show. But they don't feel afraid of anybody. And like you said, the way that they look is that they are being the aggressor. Like I said, they made Houston uncomfortable. They made San Francisco uncomfortable. Brock Purdy basically admitted that he had no idea what was going on for 3 hours 2 weeks ago. CJ Stroud looked like he had no idea what was going on all afternoon. And then this guy named Sam Darnold, who everybody else wanted to kick to the curb, is making opposing defenses, including the daunting 49ers and Houston defenses, who are born from the same tree. They just kind of looked meh against Sam Darnold. So this team is being the one that is intimidating rather than being intimidated. One quick thing I do want to say about the aggressiveness and the play style, to use the O'Connell term. This team has 3 straight 110 plus rushing yard games to start the season. Like, just think about that, Jordan. Like, they didn't have a third 100-yard game period on the ground until week 9 last year. And that was the Josh Dobbs game when he ran for like 600 yards himself. So like, it's just the difference that this team is compared to the past 2 with O'Connell is night and day.
Yeah.
And you can see it in the defense, and you can also see it in the run game.
Yeah, we'll go for a late feels good. That's kind of been my recipe for success-apy in every game, has been I want to see Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler combine for like $120. I don't care how they get there. I need $120 out of the running backs. And that's been what we've been getting. I mean, and granted, look, Sam Darnold against San Francisco had a lot of those. He had like 35 yards rushing or something like that. But that's an aspect of his game where it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I did not expect Sam Darnold to come in here and have a 35-yard rushing game in week 2. And I don't want to talk too much about that because this is a Houston, post game or whatever. But, like, I don't know, man. This team feels very special, and I don't want to overreact. Let's talk about the offense. We can maybe do some overreactions. Maybe I will with my final thoughts. But offensively, the team goes out. They hang 34 points. That's nuts on Houston's defense, which that was honestly, that scared me just as much as Stroud did. It's why I think everyone's so high on Houston. Houston seems to have a lethal combination of really good defensive coach and really good quarterback and like offensive, personnel. So it seems like the defense is going to be just as good. And the Vikings went out there, and granted, look, Sammy Hammy even said after the game that there was a lull. It turned into a bit of a punt fest there, towards the middle of the game. But when the offense needed, or when they had an opportunity to strike, it was like they will just, they almost feel like vultures because they just wait for their moment and then they're like, oh, okay, cool, now we'll sweep in and we'll do this. And Sam's extending plays. Jefferson in the first half was doing Justin Jefferson stuff. Like, it was just, I don't know, man. And we're getting Addison back and we're getting Hawkinson back. Like, I don't know. What did you think of the offense in this Houston game alone and how they performed?
Like I said earlier, it was efficient. And I appreciated efficient might not be even the right term. I think maybe what you're saying is probably more appropriate, like opportunistic. The timing was right there. It was like they seized each moment when they needed to. I mean, I'm looking at their scoring drives. It's not like they got the ball at their own 10 and marched down the field for a 90-yard drive. They had a short field, 21 yards for that first touchdown. Their second touchdown, they got the ball at their own 44. So it's like, okay, good field position. Do something with it.
Yep.
That was after the what was that after? The missed field goal. The the drive to open the second half was their real good first drive, like 77 yards down the field, just surgical. And 10 play drive or whatever it was. That was probably their best offensive series. But then again, their next scoring drive got the ball at the 40 after the kick out of bounds.
Yeah.
Went down for a field goal. Next one after that, they got the ball at the 47 after the interception by Bynum. So every time Houston did anything wrong, like you said, made one little slip up, they scored. There wasn't any of this, oh, we'll mess around and we'll, take a 7-yard loss and then have to punt. Or we'll try a long field goal because we didn't get anything going on offense. It was anytime they had any sort of striking distance, they scored. The other thing I want to say regarding the offense, Sam Darnold is working with Jalen Naylor, Brandon Powell, Trent Sherfield, Johnny Munt, and Josh Oliver. And then, of course, he's got Jefferson and he's got Aaron Jones. But you look at all those other ancillary pieces, Jalen Naylor is becoming a viable second option on the receiving core.
Yes.
I mean, that catch he had in the end zone was incredible. That wasn't just like he's fast and now he's wide open. That was a contested, difficult catch.
Beautiful ball, too. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Props.
No one else is catching that other than 83. Same with was it the Munt touchdown as well?
Yeah, where, in the triple coverage, he had 3 dudes around him, but in a spot where only Munt can get it.
Yeah, it was really impressive to watch Darnold just rifling the ball into these tiny windows, and so all that impressive. I mean, Darnold's final stat line, 4 touchdowns, but he only had about 180 yards. So it speaks again, like you said, to the opportunisticness, if that's a word. The only thing that I will say negatively about this offense, apart, like you said, from the couple stalls, was I do think that Sam Darnold does need to get better with, as they've talked about on the broadcast, as O'Connell has talked about, as Darnold has talked about, removing these potential big mistakes where you just take the sack. You don't need to try and make a hero play to cover up for a 3-yard loss. Like, just take the sack. Don't try and do a shovel pass to Aaron Jones. or there's somebody coming up from behind you. You don't have to try and throw a lateral to Brandon Powell. Like, it's okay to just chuck the ball out of bounds, take the sack, play the next down, because I do think eventually those things are going to come back to bite you. So that's the concern for me with Sam Darnold's play. It's been really good, but I think there's been too many of those no
Yeah.
plays where it feels like he could just give the ball to the other team. But I think that's an area that it's obviously an emphasis. So I think it will probably only get better as the season goes on.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something this is a pretty hot take. I like Sam Donald doing the shovel pass. I like specifically that play. I think look, he's made some plays this season where it's like, whoa, what do we do? Like the handoff against San Francisco where the play got blown up and he just chucked it. Like behind him, toned what should have been at most like a 3-yard loss into like a 15-yard loss because he just threw the ball, and that could have swung that game. Like that. Who knows how momentum plays out if that goes differently. But I do like that Sam is kind of like, you know what, I'm gonna try and tone a 5-yard loss into like a 6-yard gain. Like I can like the shovel passes didn't offend me as much as some of the other things. I think the Powell thing, I think his arm kind of got hit, but that is one where it's like, I don't know, man. Like you're kind of just throwing blind. Like he wasn't looking at Powell, but he felt the pressure, so it's like, I don't know, just tuck it and go down. Like they definitely need to walk a little bit, but we're not getting the Nick Mullins F it Jefferson's down there somewhere 5 interception game yet. But I just think Sam's played really well, and I'm super excited to see him continue to just get more comfortable in this offense and get more weapons, because like again, this offense is handicapped right now by the fact that they are missing a top 3 tight end and one of the better wide receiver 2s in the league, if not just one of the better wide receivers in the league. I mean, Addison is no scrub, so I'm excited to see how all that's going to play once we do get those guys back and everything. But I mean, against Houston specifically, how can you not be thrilled with the way, like you said, opportunistic? They said, you know what? Yeah, if you're going to give us the ball at midfield, we are going to dial up our best stuff, and we're going to go take advantage of that. And if we start at the 20, we'll get a first down or 2, and then we'll punt, and we'll give you bad field position. And you guys are already down, 20 at this point, so who cares? So yeah, man, I'm incredibly excited. Let's get some overreactions in real quick, because I know this show's already starting to float with going really long, and I don't want to do that. Let's get some overreactions in. I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and then I just want you to just answer. Like, it doesn't have to be like super brief. It doesn't have to be one-word answers, but I do have a few of them here. So, first question: overreactions. Can the Vikings win the Super Bowl with this team? Health pending. On the spot.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
I want to not say it because it's obviously an overreaction. But if three weeks in, if you ask me who the best team from the NFC is, I don't know how you don't say Minnesota.
Yeah. No, I agree. Look, I agree with you.
They destroyed Houston, who was a favorite, and they handled San Francisco, who was almost a touchdown favorite. 2 teams that are supposed to be, the wrecking balls of the league. So I don't know how you say otherwise at this point, unless you just really think Sam Darnold is bad or something.
Yeah, well, and I think we underplay the Giants game too. We held them to 6 points on the road week 1. Like the Giants game was impressive. Like it was a very impressive win to me. It wasn't as impressive as these last 2, but it's not like, well, it was the Giants. Like I would say, yeah, it was the Giants if we won by 6. We held them to 6 and won by 22. So, I think the Giants win also can add to the narrative of like, yeah, I think this team can win a Super Bowl. Follow-up question: is Sam Darnold actively playing his way into a contract extension with the Vikings?
I don't think so.
Ooh.
because of what I said earlier about some of these. I am honestly concerned about some of this, like these. It seems like his mind goes blank plays where he does a few of these, and it's like, oh man, eventually that's not going to be good. But I also think mainly it's just because they still are going to do the JJ McCarthy thing. Unless McCarthy just, for some reason, does not heal. And I don't know. That tune could change, if we look up 3 months from now and they're playing for the 1 seed and, Sam Darnold's at MVP conversations, which
Right.
I will say, I think it's overblown to say he's in MVP conversations right now.
Any MVP conversation is overblown right now.
That's also very true. Um, but anyways, what's your thought on the Darnold contract extension?
Me and Josh talked about it on Tuesday's show, so I mean, I won't go too in depth here, but I said he's gonna have to play really well in the playoffs and maybe get to a Super Bowl. Because I mean, like we saw Case Keenum play decent for the Vikings, and then it all fell apart. So if if he falls apart in the playoffs, then you're obviously not going to give him a big extension and make him a high paid guy and do all that. It also kind of scales me because we're coming off of we're not going to talk about Coke and getting everything, but like it kind of scales me because like we just had this high paid quarterback. And the gripe was, oh man, I wish we could go out and sign some, big names in free agency. And we're seeing the cheap quarterback plan play out perfectly where it's like, yeah, all these free agents are hitting. And do I expect us to have another, 5 impact player free agency next year? No, but I think getting a corner in free agency could be very viable. Maybe getting another running back, bringing Aaron Jones back for less of a discount probably. Like, I think all of those things are realistic. So I still think it's J.J. McCarthy's team next year, week 1. But like you said, tune can change. It's early to be talking about that, but if the team keeps up what they're doing right now, and they finish 15-2 and go to the championship game and lose a heartbreaker in overtime, Sam Darnold's your guy. You just can't. And JJ McCarthy is going to get the Jordan Love treatment, and we'll see how Sam Darnold plays the next couple years. I mean, that's just, to be frank, what it is. So. Do you have any overreactions that you want to test me on? Because I'm just testing the waters on some of the big stuff.
Aaron Jones will maintain this level of excellence all season, true or false?
Oh man. Okay. Well, here. Give me a second. Let me de-hypify for a second. No, I think he's going to get injured, and I hope it's not serious. But yeah, man, like that's his thing. He plays really well, and then he gets injured, and he misses 7 games, and then what? Here's what I will answer. The Vikings maintain this level of running back efficiency? I think yes. I think that they have figured something out with the run game that I think Ty Chandler could come in and while not be as effective, still be effective enough with him and like Gaskin or whoever the next guy up will be that they could have some decent efficiency. But if Aaron Jones stays healthy, absolutely. I don't think this is a fluke at all. He is a damn good running back when he's on the field. But we've already seen him hit the blue tent like a couple of times.
But I gotta say though, I think so. This is my. I have an annoyance with this. Aaron Jones is gonna get hurt, and he's always hurt narrative. Yeah, he missed 6 games yesterday, last year. But 2022 he played all 17. 2021 he played 15. 2020 he played 14. 2019 he played 16. I mean, he's been available for almost every game that his team has played.
But he's almost 30.
Yeah, he's almost 30.
I know, but
I think like there's this, I think a little bit of an unfair, like he's going to get hurt narrative that until it happens a second time, I don't really think it can be true because Justin Jefferson missed half the season last year, so are we just all going to assume he's going to miss the season this year with an injury?
Well, I think
I know it's different because the age is different.
yeah.
And the position is different. But I also think there's more proof that he will stay healthy than that he will not.
On that note,
So-
then, let me change. I put the glasses back on, and you told me, your father-in-law said to calm me down. You're doing the opposite. True, Aaron Jones will maintain. I'll buy in. I will say on the show right now into the microphone, let me say it nice and crystal clear for everybody to hear. Aaron Jones will finish this season, and he will look like the same guy he was in week 1, where it's just consistent 80, 90-yard games and looking good in the screen game, scoring a couple touchdowns. He's gonna have a very good year. I will change my tune right now.
Last overreaction. The other thing that I will say, I like that the Vikings have 2 viable running backs because it allows, even though Aaron Jones is clearly the number 1 option, it allows for him to get more breaks.
Yeah.
And when Dalvin Cook was our bell cow, he was getting 75% of the carries, at minimum. I mean, Mike Zimmer ran him into the ground because he gave him the ball 30 times a game, and it's not sustainable. But I think hopefully Ty Chandler can continue to make enough plays where that it can be a viable 1-2 punch. The last overreaction I have, and then let's finish with some maybe final thoughts before we transition into maybe a second segment of the show. We'll talk about Green Bay. Are the Vikings now the favorite to win the NFC North?
You couldn't have waited a week to ask me this question. I think yes. But man, what Green Bay is doing with Malik Willis is impressive, and it is not like they got stomped out by Philadelphia in their 1 loss. They lost a close game on a messy, sloppy field. So I think it's also Green Bay, but I don't know, man. Our defense is looking like the best in the NFL. Like, not best in the NFC, not like the defense looks like the best in the NFL, and the offense seems to be loaded with weaponry. So I'm going to say yes. I'm going to purple Kool-Aid. We're going to sip it before I put the eyesight glasses back on and I take the shady rays off. Yeah, I think they have to be the favorite. Their defense is just too good.
Fantastic. I do think the Pittsburgh Steelers might have something to say about the best defense. Now I think they've played much lesser competition than the Vikings have. The Vikings have allowed 30 points through 3 weeks. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I also think the reigning NFC North champs would take a gripe with you leaving them out of the NFC North discussion, but we can leave that for week 7. We don't need to talk about the Lions yet. Jordan, what are your final thoughts from this Houston week and all these overreactions?
So final thoughts for this, and this is where it gets a little awkward because we're doing 1 podcast but 2 videos. So this is where the video is going to break and the podcast is going to keep rolling. But my final thoughts, or my mid-show thoughts for the podcast people, it's going to be, Mike Zimmer, his defense is cooked. You can't play Mike Zimmer defense anymore. I think we saw that in Minnesota going into the end, and I know this isn't anything to do with the Vikings, but that's the spirit of final thoughts. And I like Mike Zimmer. I've said on the show I miss him. I listened to like all of his old press conferences a while ago, like just because I liked the way he handled the media in his prime, not the end when he was kind of just a jackass all the time. But it seems like that defense isn't viable at all, and I think Mike Zimmer's NFL days, unfortunately, are behind him. And he had a really good run. He had some great years in Minnesota, some great years as a DB's coach for Dallas with Deion Sanders and everything. And honestly, some great years in Cincinnati as their DC. But just doesn't seem like it works after what I saw out of Dallas. So those will be my final thoughts or the mid-show thoughts, whatever. Will, I'll let you give yours and take us home. Take us to the ad break.
My final thoughts are not Mike Zimmer related, but I do have to get one Mike Zimmer comment in. I am not a grudge holder.
No,
Mike Zimmer is. Mike Zimmer has publicly stated multiple times that he likes to hold grudges. So I believe that I am allowed to hold a Mike Zimmer grudge. I have a grudge against Mike Zimmer, and I do not cheer for his defenses. I do not cheer for the Cowboys, and I do not miss him at all. I don't miss the old man sourpuss. I don't miss the griping. I don't miss the complaining. I don't miss the crapping on the media. I don't miss any of it. I like Kevin O'Connell. I like where we're at. Now,
Same.
what I will say.
I also would rather have Kevin O'Connell. I have to. You can't take that shot. We're going to very quickly turn into Trump and Kamala yelling at each other here. But like, I also am very happy with Kevin O'Connell.
Yes, I am appreciative, Mike. Thank you for getting us to an NFC Championship game and losing by 100 points. I'm grateful for the free playoff appearances, all that. Thanks, that was awesome. But I don't miss you. Now, my actual final thoughts. Gotta say, man, Sam Darnold got a standing ovation when he came back into the football game on Sunday after that little knee bruise scare from old friend Daniil Hunter. Not a dirty play. I'm not mad at him. Just happened. And wow, how the tables have turned, Jordan. Just 6 months ago when he was signed by the team, I included, we were all like, what the F are we doing with signing Sam Darnold to be our quarterback? Why is that our solution? And here we are 3 weeks in, and Vikings fans, including me, guilty, are holding our breath that number 14 will come back in the game. I mean, when I saw the play happen, my wife was talking to me, and it talked right through my head because I was freaking out.
Yep.
I told her, I was like, honey, I'm sorry. I did not hear anything you just said. It looked like he just tore his ACL, and I'm freaking out. And that's Sam Darnold that we're talking about. So what a transformation. What a guy. I think he's easy to cheer for. Like Jordan said, we're going to flip the tape. We will take a brief pause here on the podcast side, and we'll be back to talk Packers in a few seconds. Let's go, y'all.
And also tomorrow for the YouTube audience.